Good morning, everyone. I am so happy to hear this level of noise and all this great chatting that's going on. Look to your left and to your right, and what you will see is somebody absolutely amazing because they care about food insecurity. Every single one of you is such an important piece of this community and a vital piece to making sure that people don't slip through the cracks. I am Bonnie DeCaro Monahan. I am the Development Director for the Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank, and I am thrilled that each of you are here today. Thank you for joining us at our brand new venue for Recipe for Hope. And hopefully nobody had any problems getting here, finding it. Hopefully nobody went to Eastridge first. Today, we have Eastridge Church in the room with us, and I want to acknowledge the fact that they hosted this event for 8 years. Yes! Thank you, Eastridge Church. Absolutely amazing. Eastridge is also a sponsor of this event. So our sponsors are the reason that every dollar that you give toward this event is going toward helping provide food and vital resources in our community. So I just want to call out the sponsors that are in the room. You'll see on the screens all of our sponsors. Some of our sponsors came this morning. They were at the breakfast event. But we have Eastridge Church. We have the Kiwanis Club of Providence Point. We have Spirit of Peace. And we have Christian Manly Orthodontics. And Juniper Capital. Thank you all. Also at your table is your table host, the person who invited you, who said, hey, there's something cool happening and you need to hear about it. So I just want to say thank you to our table hosts for helping to fill this room and helping to make this event a success. Now I'm going to ask some people to stand. And I know that immediately, as soon as you hear that, you're like, please don't ask me to stand. Your little heart starts pitter-pattering. I promise it will be painless. If you have ever volunteered for the Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank, will you please stand up? Isn't that amazing? I love that. That is just the perfect picture of how this all works. Now I would like to let you see who the board and staff members are in the room, in case you haven't had a chance to meet them. If you are an Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank board member, will you please stand up? And we have staff members in the room, which might not seem like a big deal to you, but we are open for shopping today. So the fact that we have staff members that can be here with you just goes to show how important it was to them to be able to participate in this event with you. So any Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank staff member, will you please stand up? Thanks, guys. So today, we are going to hear from experts in the field of food insecurity. We're also going to hear from those who are daily living what it's like to live with food and resource insecurity. And they're going to provide us deeper insight. To get us started, I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker, Clancy Harrison. Clancy dramatically shifts the conversation around food, health, and social responsibility. She does this with a mix of her trademark vulnerability and courage. She is going to share with us how she woke up to what she calls her food elitism. And she's going to challenge us to reflect on our own assumptions and biases so that we can act as advocates for what she's branded as food dignity. We can do this in our places of work, we can do this in our neighborhoods, in our families, and we can do this in our role as partners with the Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank. So please join me in welcoming Clancy Harrison.
Thank you. Ooh, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. Just so you know, I am from Pennsylvania, and so it's great to be out here on the, well, I guess we have some Pennsylvania folks in there. Do I dare say Penn State, or am I going to get booed? But anyways, I'm here to talk about food dignity, and I'm going to share something with you, and that is every single moment in our life impacts the way we interact in the world, whether it's who we follow on TV or social media, whether it is who we get our advice from, it's going to impact our next decisions. And what I want for you to take from this is when we can empower ourselves to take a step back and look at the why behind our choices and our thoughts, we have insight in how we can show up into the world. And I want to share a personal story with you on what brought me to this stage and many stages across the United States. About 14, 15 years ago, I was sitting in my husband's church, and they said, we need a food pantry president. Who wants to volunteer? And I looked at my husband, and I actually got really excited because I'm a dietitian. I was a food service director in the summer school meals and regular school meals. I know how to get food. I know how to give food. I love to help people. And it's right across the street from my kids' school. So all I have to do is drop them off and cross the street. It was a win-win. But then I went home, and I actually started thinking about it. I started thinking about the 20 hours. And then that bad voice that I have started percolating up, and all my misconceptions that I thought was the truth started speaking to me. And it said, Clancy, why would you volunteer 20 hours because you're going to get upset? There's going to be people taking advantage of the system. Maybe they should be working. Maybe they shouldn't be on welfare. That's tough, right? That was my internal dialogue. And I share that with you because I feel that if we're going to end any misconceptions, we must face them head on. And I'm going to take you a little deeper into my truth of my life experience. My mother is a survivor of addiction. 4 of her 7 siblings died because of substance abuse disorder. My grandfather, her father, died also. And I thought to myself, why would I ever go to a food pantry? Now, keep in mind, I was never in a food pantry or a food bank at that point in my life. And I thought, why would I ever go into a food pantry and put myself and my children into a situation that my mom worked so hard to get out of? I literally thought that I would be working in an area where I would see my mom's brothers and sisters. I thought I would see people actively using drugs and alcohol. And I can tell you that when I started volunteering, because I did listen to that good voice, and it said, Clancy, it's not your place to judge. If you can help one person, go do your job. That's it. It's that simple. And I listened, and I jumped in, and I can tell you that day started a completely new Clancy. My professional and personal life turned right side up. When I went into that food pantry, I never saw people using the system. I never saw people who were lazy or uneducated. I never saw anyone actively using drugs and alcohol. What I did see, by the way, that's our food pantry line. I never clicked the button. That was when we went to COVID and it was a drive-through operation. But what I did see was I saw people working. I saw people looking for jobs. I saw women and children who slipped through the cracks of our society, elderly. I saw veterans. 1 in 4 of our cars were a veteran. I know that because they had stickers or hats. I want to share a story with you. It was one day, it was a non-service day, a non-shopping day. And those are the most interesting days because that's where you have people who come in their most desperation. We're usually their first line of defense. And this gentleman walked in and he had this fresh, tailored, gorgeous suit. He was probably in his mid-30s, white male, fresh shave. And he says, "Is this the West Side Food Pantry?" What do you think I thought? I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. I'm going to get a check. I'm going to get that walk-in refrigerator and get all the produce I need. This is awesome. And he said, who's in charge? And here I am. Me. I am the president of this food pantry. And by the way, here's a pen. Here's a pen. I'm ready. And he put his head down low and he said, I've been looking for a job for months. I have 3 kids. I cannot go home empty-handed today. They need to eat. Whew. Right. Here I am judging based off what someone looked like, what he was wearing, the color of his skin. I invited him to bring his car around. We loaded up his car. I invited him to come back every week, but I never saw him again. Fast forward 6 months of that day, he sent me a check. Not me personally, the food bank. But he sent the check and he said, thank you so much. You saved me during a difficult time. I was able to be the father I needed to be that day. I was able to feed my kids because you helped me. What I've learned is that food insecurity does not have one particular look. In fact, the USDA has 4 definitions of food security. Food security is either high food security, marginal food security, low food security, very low food security. High and marginal is when everyone in the household has access to enough food for a healthy and active lifestyle. The difference between marginal and high is that people start to experience stress around their food access. Their intake, their eating behaviors do not change, but they have stress. Now let's jump down to the bottom to low and very low food security. Very low food security is what I believe most people in the United States assume food insecurity is. We might dumpster dive. We might go to a food pantry, a food bank. We might be on WIC or SNAP. We might skip 1 meal, but we might not eat for 3 days. Now let's go back to low food security. Low food security is where we need to start expanding our definition, especially when we're talking to donors, when we're starting to talk to people who we want to come in and help and volunteer. Low food security is we have enough calories. Our bellies are full. We might be eating instant noodles or prepared pancake mix every single day, but we don't have the nutrition that we need. I always say I graduated from Penn State and I survived on instant noodles. That was not a rite of passage. That was food insecurity. And you'll hear words such as nutrition insecurity. That's becoming really popular now, so that's pretty much the same thing. When someone is experiencing food insecurity, there's a lot of impacts. And I put food stress at the center because I want to include people who live with marginal food insecurity. That simple level of increase in stress gives everyone, them and anyone else experiencing food insecurity, they're at risk for 10 chronic diseases. We have increase in weight gain, poor sleeping cycles, and then we also have spending trade-offs. Spending trade-offs might be, well, I cannot go to my doctor because I can't afford the wellness pay, the co-payment. I might not follow the meal plan for my diabetes management care because I can't afford the nutritious foods. It might be the difference between affordable housing and affordable childcare. And we're not even getting into the fact that children, when they don't have enough to eat, how do they even concentrate in school? We're not even getting there. But what I love about those posters in the back is that your food bank is showing how you're starting to pull people out of this cycle. So please make sure you read those posters. Understanding the barriers that people face every single day is super important. And I can go through this whole entire list, and I'm sure you're familiar with the list. But my question to you is, if someone has access to public transportation, the bus, do you assume that they do not have a barrier to food access because that's checked off? At the end of the day, the barriers are just getting started. I was working with a woman, and she was constantly buying instant noodles and chips. And as a dietitian, I could get really frustrated. I could be resentful, and I could start judging and saying, oh, she doesn't care about the health of her children. She doesn't care about her health. But when I got to the why and understood her choices and the reasoning behind the choices, she said, I'm a single mom of a young child. I have to take 2 bus routes. When I get to the grocery store, I have to cross a busy road. I have to keep my son safe. He will dart out. And then when I go in the grocery store, I have one criteria. It has to be lightweight. The food has to be lightweight. because I have to be able to carry it and protect him. And I can only have 2 bags or 3 bags at the most because I can only put the food on our lap. I don't have the luxury of a trunk or the back of a car. The barriers are just getting started, and unless we understand the barriers that people face every day, how could we be the problem solvers, effective problem solvers that we're capable of being? Every day, people have those spending trade-offs. And I want to share another story. When we went to the drive-through operation, people started donating $1 here, $5 there. We never solicited for the money. But I can tell you that we accepted that donation because there was dignity in them giving. They were giving and receiving. And at the end of the line, if we ran out of that milk or we ran out of the whole chickens, we'd say, we ran out of the food, here's $10. Go get what you need at the grocery store. We just put that money right back in the hands of the people in line. And on this day, I had a $5 bill and 3 ones. And it was like the ugly money, right? Because it was the last of the money, it was ripped, it was wadded, it was dirty, it had scribbling on it. And I thought, I can't give her $8. It's going to embarrass her. But that good voice that brought me to this stage and to the food pantry said, you're the one creating the shame. You are creating the shame. Just give her the money and walk away. It's not that hard. What are you doing? I gave her the money, I walked away, and she started crying and screaming hallelujah. She said, everyone in our house lost their job except my son because of COVID. We used our last drop of gas to get here because we had to eat today. You just gave us gas money. So here I am projecting what $8 meant to me onto her, but it meant actually the world to her. At the end of the day, getting rid of stigma and shame needs to be our top priority. I always say if we're going to create a fictional story, a false narrative, we might as well make it a good one. So instead of looking at someone's car and thinking, oh, they have a nicer car than me. I don't want to be here anymore. Why am I here? Right? Why can't we say, wasn't that great? Their boss gave them a car to borrow. And then you go home, you feel good, there's no resentment, right? So if we're going to create a story in our head, and this is something I had to learn, I do it every day, it might as well be a good story. Food is a human right. And I want you to look at this picture and imagine you being that bridge and all the beams and the structures that need to be in place to keep that bridge down. That bridge can be you, it could be this organization, it could be the community, it could be the world. What do you need to do and change to keep that bridge down? And I can tell you, I was someone who thought, okay, I'm a hunger hero, food insecurity fighter, and my bridge is all the way down. It's not. Every bridge is up. It's up as long as food insecurity exists in our world. So we're always on a path of improvement. And so I just want to leave you here today is what can be improved. And it starts with collaboration. It starts with all of you coming here today. It starts with us shifting from the all-knowing mindset to the learning mindset so we can better connect with the people we serve. It starts with understanding the barriers that people face so we can be better problem solvers. It starts with understanding what success looks like to the people we serve, because then we can insight solutions. We can have insight into solutions that might work. And finally, with every word, every thought, every action, we have an opportunity to either empower or disempower someone. And I know if we're going to end food injustice, we need to start with empowering ourselves so we can empower the people we serve and our volunteers. So thank you and have a great rest of the program. It's an honor to be here.
One of the perceptions in American society is that work as hard as you can, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and you will succeed. It's not always the case for everyone. When I've been laid off 3 times, it didn't matter how hard I was working or how well I was working. My son is 16, and I've been a single parent since he was a year old. Having been a single parent for 15 years, finances have always been an issue, simply for the fact that there is only one person who can earn money. I don't have a spouse, a partner that I can fall back on. I have 3 jobs currently. I don't like feeling vulnerable of having only one source of income because I've had too many experiences where that income suddenly disappears and then I have nothing. So I prefer to have at least 2, where even if one of them ends or goes away for whatever reason, at least I still have a little bit of income coming in. So for my 3rd position, managing my mother's apartment building, repairs, maintenance, those things crop up unexpectedly, and I have to be flexible. I have to be able to jump up even in the middle of the night and go assist with a resident if needed. One of the most challenging parts of working so many positions is the commute. With 3 different jobs that I all conduct at different locations, just commuting between them gets to be very time-consuming and expensive. Having gone through multiple layoffs, each time I end up using a significant chunk, if not all of my savings, to survive those in-between times until another full-time position is found. There's always these times of panic, not knowing what am I going to do next? How am I going to pay the rent? You know, I might be okay for a couple of weeks, but what do I do when the rent comes due next month? The Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank has been a huge lifesaver for me and for my son, for our family. When my work schedule allowed, I was able to go shop in person and specifically choose out foods that I knew a somewhat picky child and now teenager will eat. The Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank has always been very welcoming. There was a gal there who remembered me, and she just knew me by sight, and she would say my name. Oh, how are you today? And what can I help you find this week? It was just very personal and very welcoming. I work beforehand and I work later than the food bank's open. And they offer a home delivery service. So I have been able to have food delivered to my home. I can still choose ahead of time, what types of things I need. It's just very flexible in that way, trying to accommodate the different needs of different families. One of the most impactful pieces for my son that from the clothing bank and from the holiday gift barn was occasionally being able to provide him with something brand new. Clothing that was new, had never been worn, still had the tags on it. And he was like, "Are these for me? Are they really new?" And he was just in awe that he actually had brand new clothing that was his. Wasn't anybody else's before. So that was a huge just morale boost for a kid who always kind of felt like everything he had was, second hand, used. So those services that provide the basics of life that are known expenses that are going to be regularly occurring, those are the services that can allow a family to then save up a little bit. So that allows them to continue working and then to maintain their housing and everything else in life. If it weren't for the Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank, I don't know where I would turn for assistance. I'm really grateful to the supporters of the Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank that they support an organization who provides families the ability to be autonomous and provide for their families in a respectful and independent way.
I want to first acknowledge Laura for sharing her story with us. For me, to hear about how excited her son was to get something new, it really resonated with me. I think a lot of us take for granted how special it is to have something new because we have new things all the time. And I really appreciate her being willing to be vulnerable and share that with us. My name is Stephanie Norton-Bradel. I'm the new executive director of the Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank. I started in March. Thank you. And I just want to extend a thank you to all of our team, our volunteers in this community for giving me such a warm welcome in my new role here. It's been a lot of learning in the first 6 months, but it's an awesome place to work, and I feel honored to be here with you today. I'm starting today with a story about myself, 5-year-old Stephanie. 5-year-old Stephanie grew up as the oldest sibling of 3 kids. My mom and dad were really young when I was born, 19 and 20, and by the time they were 24, they had 3 kids under 6. And I remember as a 5-year-old, my mom worrying about money. Both of my parents were going to school, and my dad was working, and we moved around a lot. We moved to a house, we moved to an apartment, we lived with some family for a little while, and then we found ourselves in a new community called Valley Key. And some of you, if you're from South King County, maybe have heard of Valley Key. It's in Kent. And the thing that I remember the most about Valley Key is my parents would walk us to the community center in the morning and in the afternoon, and we would get a free sack lunch or a free breakfast. The thing for 5-year-old Stephanie that was so exciting about the sack lunch or sack breakfast was we would get things in that little bag that we didn't normally get at home. So we would get those little boxes of cereal that were so special, and this was the early 70s, so those were pretty new too. And my mom would always say, that's way too expensive, we can't get those. And we would get a little bag of chips in our lunch. And that was another thing, we didn't get treats at home because they were too expensive. The thing that I loved the most, though, was the cheese sandwich. And on Cheese Sandwich Day, I was so excited. And I can still remember, and I know if I tasted that cheese sandwich now, it would be not very good. It was like white bread and American cheese. But it was the bomb when I was 5 years old. Many years later, I came to understand that Valley Key was a subsidized community, subsidized housing, where resources were offered on site at the facility. There would be immunization clinics, the library would be there, and it really created a sense of community for my family at a time where my family was struggling. I never had a sense of embarrassment or shame for having to access resources there, and I think because the whole experience was normalized. Everyone in the community was doing the same thing. We were all accessing the services. And it actually created such a sense of community that, the families would get to know each other. We would sit down and eat our sack lunches together. And I only remember happy memories from that time. I'm sure it was difficult for my parents to seek help. They came from middle-class families. But I know that they're also grateful for the time that they had and the support that they received in raising their family. I liken my childhood experience at Valley Key to my observations of our summer lunch program. We run summer lunch very much like our market. It's a shopping experience, and the parents come with their kids. And what's different about summer lunch is the energy that the kids bring in the facility. The kids are so happy to see the produce, the handouts. The staff are all wearing the color of the week because we did a Eat the Rainbow theme. And it's not uncommon to see a child like chewing on a banana or munching on a peach as they're walking around the market. And when was the last time any of us walked around a market without munching on a banana? The kids often look at me and say, I love this place, or I hear them tell their parents, this is my favorite place, or is all this stuff free? And it's really fun to see how excited everyone is to be there. And what I've noticed over the past 6 months in my time at the food bank is that what I've experienced in the summer lunch program has been a common theme. People come into our market, they're greeted by cheerful staff, welcoming volunteers, and they have a wonderful shopping experience with an array of fresh food and a choice-based experience. Our team of volunteers and staff really try to make sure that everybody has the most positive experience that they can have. If they're not able to come to the market, they get their groceries delivered with groceries to go. And I've been able to ride along on the groceries to go deliveries, and I've seen how excited some of our clients are to see their driver and how special it is to see them forming that relationship. And as you'll see shortly, our client services volunteers provide supportive and caring, compassionate care for folks that walk up to our building needing emergency clothing or supplies, referrals to other agencies, or clothing for their kids through our KidVantage program. Our staff and volunteers are really dedicated to making sure that everybody has a supportive and dignified experience. And as witnessed through Laura's story and through my own family's story, it doesn't take much for a family to need help. The loss of a job, a new child, an illness, or sometimes all of those things at once can place families in a vulnerable position. The Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank was founded 52 years ago with the belief that nobody should have to beg for food and that healthy food should be a right. Our mission is to unite our community to nourish and nurture individuals by removing barriers to healthy food, vital resources, and essential services. This organization was established, grown, and sustained by volunteers and supporters like all of you, and we thank you for being part of this work with us. We're constantly adapting and changing to the changing needs of our community. We're more than a food bank and more than a clothing bank. We've added grocery deliveries so that people who don't have access to our market can get groceries delivered at home. We've been working with schools on power packs, making sure that kids have food for the weekends, and by providing other youth programs. And we've collaborated with the Issaquah Schools Foundation and KidVantage to assist families with school supplies, infant supplies, and clothing. All of this is to help minimize those gaps in security and provide a wide safety net. Clancy so eloquently illustrated how food and resource insecurity not only impacts a person's ability to focus, but to perform their family, job, or school responsibilities. It also takes a mental toll on somebody's emotional well-being. Fear of being judged and feelings of shame can impact one's ability to seek help. But yet, we are seeing more and more families and individuals coming to us for support. On March 1st of this year, thousands in our immediate region were significantly impacted by the loss of COVID-related SNAP benefits at a time when food prices were already high and the cost of living in this area was high as well. This has forced a growing number of people to seek services with us. In the spring, we were seeing an average of 60 new households a month. Now we continue to see growth in all of our programs. Our market is open every other week, and we're now averaging 45 new households a month. When combined with our emergency shopping visits, food access at our building is up 35% from 2022 for an average of 1,300 visits a month. We're also now averaging 575 individuals receiving our groceries to go delivery service each month. This is a 22% increase from last year. Our lunch for the break and summer lunch programs allows families to have an extra shopping trip when they don't have access to free and reduced lunch and breakfast. This year, our summer lunch, we also piloted grocery deliveries for families that couldn't get to the food bank. Lunch for the break stayed stable, but summer lunch broke records with a 23% growth, and the two programs provided over 1,450 shopping trips for families this summer and over the winter break. To address weekend hunger, we do Power Packs with the Issaquah School District. Our Power Packs program provides a bag of healthy snacks and proteins for the families to have over the weekend. During the 2022-23 school year, school nurses, counselors, and teachers helped us distribute 12,242 Power Packs and this is a 26% increase over previous years. You'll hear a little more about our dedicated client services team in a bit, but much of our team's work involves working with community members that are experiencing homelessness and making connections to essential services to help them build stability. This year alone, our team has worked with 314 people, 230 which were unhoused. They help them with things like case management, emergency supplies, IDs, phones, finding shelter. And this is a 65% increase over the same period last year. We've been holding a winter coat event since 2020, distributing 690 coats last year. This year's coat distribution event will focus on adults and teens, with youth accessing services through KidVantage. We'll be sharing a little more information about this in a bit. And then we also have our holiday gift program coming up. We'll distribute $50 in gift cards to every child in a family to ensure that every child and family can have something special over the holidays. Last year we served 1,450 children, and this year we expect that program to grow. The WSDA no longer allows food banks to have defined service areas if you're receiving federal support. So we serve anyone who comes to our doors through our market and through our client services team. The majority of the people we serve live in Sammamish, Issaquah, Renton, and Newcastle, but we're starting to see more and more people outside of that service area. With the growing need, we've had to make some adjustments. So this year, our food budget has grown by 49%, and that's on top of increasing our food budget by 50% last year. Our team is constantly seeking new funding sources to purchase food, and we've recently been awarded several grants to help purchase fresh food and food for our youth programs, but the need continues to grow. In addition, the Issaquah Sammamish Food Project and the Trossachs Food Project, along with our community food drives, provide much of our quality dry goods. We're committed to continuing to recruit food project neighborhood coordinators and to host more food drives to help our dry goods collections continue to grow. This is where we get a lot of our quality food things like name brand cereals and things like that. As many of you know, we also continue to pursue a rebuild of our facility at our current location to address space and efficiency needs. Ideally, this will include a welcoming market space, functional workspace for our entire team, a meeting room where community can gather, and offices where clients can work with community partners to give them easier access to the resources they need. This is an extension of our holistic approach to how we serve people through our client services program. And who better to tell you the story of our client services team than our client services team themselves? I hope you enjoy this video as you gain deeper insight into helping those we serve.
The difference between people being able to stay afloat or to fall off the cliff and their life start to spiral is very, very small.
I've met people since I've been here working in client services who have traveled to the area and think they're in a pretty good situation, and money doesn't last very long in this economy.
We all have preconceived notions of others, and I was unsure at first when I started. We kind of get caught up in our own life and we get busy and we just kind of assume, well, how come they can't get a job? They seem normal to me. As you get to know the clients, you understand their story.
We have this client in here, he's probably been a client of the food bank for probably a year and a half now. All he wanted from us was some information on where he could park his RV, which was his home, his business vehicle, and where he also lived with his son. And over time, he started coming into us a little bit more and more, and we helped him get a phone, and then his van broke down when he was on a job. He lost his home, he lost his work vehicle, he lost his tool storage, but the saddest thing was he also lost his son. If he had just had some help around the maintenance of his vehicle, it could have been a completely different story.
I really don't know if many in our community understand some of the challenges that people, particularly people who might be experiencing homelessness or housing insecurity, go through on a daily basis.
Me and my 2 kids were homeless for 18 months. Luckily, we had some friends that we could stay with. Most of the people don't have any kind of support system, and they face a lot of different things going to different organizations where they're not treated like they're just a human being.
The flexibility that we can provide here, I think, makes a big difference in people's lives. And that we're there to listen and help them connect with other resources in the community, not just food.
The thing that surprised me most when I started working as a client service volunteer was just how complicated it is to find information. All organizations put their information online, but that doesn't mean people can find it. So really trying to navigate and find where does a person need to go to take the next step?
It took us about a month of calling every day just to get into the shelter itself.
There are so many gaps in the current system, and there are so many providers out there. People need help putting the pieces together.
Some of the crisis points I've seen as a client service volunteer are varied. As simple as if someone has recently been homeless, their crisis point is they have no shelter for the night. For some of our clients who have apartments or homes, their crisis point could be a utility bill. It could be a car that's not working. It could even be a prescription they can't afford.
What I like about the way that we approach the people that we serve is that we do it from a holistic lens.
Our client service team works to meet the individual needs of people who come to our organization for assistance. Sometimes people come for food, sometimes they come for emergency supplies. We help listen to what their priorities are, their goals, what they want to move forward with. And we stand, with them in that journey of trying to get a little bit closer to stability.
The people we work with just want to be heard. They want to be listened to. They don't want judgment.
Every client that we deal with is a deserving human being who is literally just asking for help. And that little bit of help can make a massive difference in their lives. The minute you come to that door, you're treated with absolute dignity by every single member of staff.
The work we do is just scratching the surface of what's out there. Our vision for our client services work really mirrors our organizational vision. We want to have a more connected, supportive community where everybody has the opportunity to thrive. It means building capacity. We hope to grow our client services team. We hope to build more resiliency in this community by having more services available on site. So we really hope to build a more connected community where more resources are available right here.
Each one of the client service volunteers brings a different aspect to the clients that we serve. And so none of us know everything, but together we know a lot, and we all have special gifts and talents that the clients feel, and that does make a huge difference in giving them the hope and encouragement to keep on. Sometimes the need is bigger than the help that we're able to give, but that we're here with them, fighting the fight and looking for any way that could make their need a little bit better.
I don't have the words to say how grateful I am to our client service team, each and every one of our volunteers and our donors who really make this work possible.
It makes me feel good to help when we can help, because let's face it, there's a lot of things that we can't change in people's lives. And sometimes it can be frustrating and discouraging when we don't have the answers and we don't have all the things they need. So to be able to help in the ways that we can does feel good.
What I like about it is if I know that something I've said or done has taken that little bit of stress away from somebody, so that maybe it gives them the emotional strength to maybe deal with something else in their lives.
I don't think that the world is always right and just, and if we can put some pieces into place to help people, it's just what you have to do.
It feels like we're making a difference. We see people that are smiling that weren't smiling before and weren't happy, and feel like you're giving back to your own community.
We're never going to be able to alleviate all of the need, but together we can do so much more. And that's what really makes this team and this organization and this community really special.
What a powerful video. I appreciate you acknowledging that video, but for all of the volunteers and employees in the room, please let's give them a round of applause for the great work they do. And I see Erin hiding in the corner over here, and I saw that she stood for exactly 5 seconds earlier today to acknowledge, so we're going to make sure you're acknowledged too, Erin. All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Jeff Clark. I'm currently a member of the board, and I recently retired as the fire chief at Eastside Fire and Rescue before joining the board. And I was asked to share my story of, why am I involved with the board or with the food bank before I get into a challenge for each of you. And it's time to wake up. It's getting a little chilly on this side of the room, so I'm going to raise my voice and I'm going to change it around. So I'm going to try to get your attention a few times this morning. All right, so first of all, as a firefighter, 32 years as a firefighter, I'm not sure that people in the public recognize, no, that's not, we're not here for that. What I want to say is I'm not sure how much we understand how we blindly trust a profession like the fire service. Do you understand the number of homes that a firefighter walks into over the course of their career and the state of those homes? And what the raw humanity that we get to see when we walk in. I believe of all of the public services out there, the fire service gets the rawest glimpse, the look into what is really going on in a community, all right? I moved up here from Arizona 8 years ago. What a wonderful community. I live here in Issaquah. I love this community. I love everything about this community. But the need here is so strong. And we hide it really, really well. And if nothing else from these videos and this testimonies today, understand that we have a lot of work to do. And I have done nothing but see that over the course of my career over and over and over again. And it still shocks me when Stephanie stood up here and said, 12,000 power packs. 12,000 times this last year, we sent home food so kids could make it through the weekend with enough nourishment. And that didn't meet all the need. That met the need that we knew about. There's so much more work to do, and I'm so excited and thankful to have a room full of people willing to support this effort and sit through a program like this and be ready to answer the challenge that I'm about to give, okay? Today's, whether you've noticed it on the cards or on the information we have, is insight equals action. And we've spent a morning providing you insight. We started with Clancy's wonderful presentation about what food dignity is. All right, I've never heard it stated better. All right, then we saw a video from Laura, a client who sat in her living room and just spilled her guts about what her life has been and what a challenge and how thankful I am when I listen to stories like that about how blessed I've been in my life, right? But the challenges that real people, real good people face day in and day out. And then Stephanie stood up here and provided the insight of the challenges that we as a food and clothing bank are facing right now. From the SNAP benefits expiring last March, inflation. All right, there's one number you're gonna hear me say a couple of times, and she put it up on a slide, and that's 35%. Don't forget 35%, okay? And then lastly, we just heard from our client services team, and how many folks in our community would know the work that your food and clothing bank does and would have associated the work that's done by those wonderful volunteers and employees in that video to food bank work. It's not just about handing food to somebody. It's about sitting down and getting to know them and understanding what issues they need help in addressing and understanding where those programs exist in our community and connecting them. A great phrase was used by one of the volunteers in that video that I hadn't heard or associated before, and that was crisis point. And I love that term because in my experience in the fire service is there's all kinds of crisis points that people encounter over the course of their life, and we all have them. We all have them. Some of us have the resources to overcome those crisis points, and sometimes we need help to overcome them. But what we learned from the insight from all of those issues was that when your crisis point comes, it's wonderful to know that there's an organization like the Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank to address it. All right, so now we've got lots of insight, and now it's time for action. All right, and we're getting to the action point, and of course, we can't take action without all of you. All right, thank you so much. You wouldn't be sitting here if you haven't supported this organization in the past. All right, and we're asking you to support it again. And you know what I'm going to ask for, how much of an increase I need from you. All right, I have, in all my years as fire chief, I never asked for this big of a budget increase, ever. But it's real, 35%. If you came in here thinking that you could give something, I'm going to ask you to push that by 35%. Okay? You can see some of the numbers up here on the slide. If you can't read it, I'll give you a few examples. But $500, which is another magic number here today, $500 helps 65 people get through, I'm misstating it already, through the weekend, the Power Pack program that I was talking about, 65. All right? The $10,000 on the far end, right, that helps people go through the shopping experience, hundreds of them, in order to get through that shopping experience. If you haven't experienced that in person, I encourage you to at least volunteer once and go see the magic that you're doing for these folks with your donations. All right, now we started a new program this year, thanks to the brilliant staff here. We started a matching pool. This is the first year that we've had a matching pool for this event. And we have a number of you here that have donated for the matching pool. And we've got a matching pool of $70,000 for this event. And we have to activate that pool though. In order to activate it, we need donations of $500. And if you donate $500 or more, then the matching pool is going to match that donation. All right, now, if you're comfortable and you donated to the matching pool, could you please rise so that we can thank you for your contributions? I'm one of them, so I'm going to be the first to stand. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, throwing a few numbers. We've got all the insight, and I'm going to throw out a few more numbers. First of all, our goal for this event is to raise $275,000. All right? In order to achieve that goal, we've got the matching pool to help us, as long as a number of people in this room give that $500 or more, then we can easily achieve that goal and activate that full $70,000 into the pool of money for this event. You can give by writing a check today, but you can also give by breaking that up monthly or quarterly, and we have staff here who can help you through that process. And in just a minute, I'm going to ask table captains to hand out the envelopes. Don't hand them out yet. I'm going to ask you to hand out those envelopes. All right? When you do so, we're going to take a few minutes. You can open that up, and we ask you to please thoughtfully give what you can. Remember that 35% number. It's a real number. All right? We need as much as you can give. And then there's also a QR code that will come up on the screen, and it'll come up here, and you can donate online with your phone. If you need help with that, simply raise your hand, and a staff member will come over and help you through the QR process. All right? And then once you have donated, all right, and we've taken a few minutes, Bonnie's going to come up and close out the program. All right, so table captains, please hand out your envelopes. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you giving anything you can.
Thank you, everyone. If you're still on your phones trying to make your online donation, thank you. Don't let me stop you. If you tried to scan the QR code and you had trouble, or do want to give online and haven't been able to do that, please know that we have an online donation assistance table out here so that after the event is over, you can go out there and they will help you make your online donation. So if I could just have everybody's attention for just a couple more minutes, and that way, when you guys are finished, you are free to chat till your heart's content. So thank you so much. I just really appreciate it. I apologize we're a couple minutes over, but I just really want to say, it's a lot. You got up early, you came here instead of doing whatever else you need to be doing right now, and you invested in time to come and learn more, and that means a ton to all of us here who are doing this work each and every day. And again, I'll say it again, it is not possible without all of you, without all of our volunteers, everybody, the entire community who makes this work happen. So thank you. Today, because of your gifts, we're going to be able to continue to purchase those high nutrient foods that cost so much, right? Those are difficult to afford on food stamps. We're going to continue to meet that growing demand for resources because that 35% that you saw is not going to stop. There's no indicators saying that's going to stop. And we're going to be able to continue offering an equitable variety of foods and make sure that we can address cultural issues and dietary issues and things like that. So, next steps. You are going to receive one of these. It's a little flyer on your way out. And because this is insight equal to action, we have to make sure that you have another action step after this. So there's lots of opportunities here. You can pick one, or you can be an overachiever. I love overachievers. You can do them all. We've got our winter coat drive happening right now. We need new or very gently used teen or adult-sized coats. On the flyer are the dates that you can drop off those donations. We've got our holiday gift program coming up. You heard Laura talk about that and how excited her son was to receive something brand new. Through our holiday gift card program, parents received gift cards, and they can go shop for that exact item that their child asked for. Maybe it was on their Santa list. They can make sure that Santa visits that year. And then we've got our Issaquah, Sammamish, and Trossachs Food Project. We need neighborhood coordinators. So I encourage you to look at that, get more information, ask questions, and it only takes 2 hours. Well, it takes a total of 10 hours, 12 hours a month or a year. Wow, that was bad. 12 hours a year to be a neighborhood coordinator. It's nothing. And then on the back, turkey trot. Raise your hand if you've done turkey trot. Yes, yes. Can you believe it's almost turkey trot time? October 25th is the deadline for early bird registrations. So get your registrations in, and we want to see you there on Thanksgiving Day. So with that, I just want to say thank you to a couple of key groups, and that is our client services volunteers that are here, the ones you saw in the video. If you are here, please stand. I know, oh, Nicola's like, no way. Right? Amazing. And our event team, if you were part of the team that put on this event, please stand. And the many people who came early to help, who are going to help in between and reset for the lunch, thank you all. I absolutely love this community. Please feel free to stay, meet people, enjoy this amazing group of people that you're a part of. Thank you for coming.